You're lying in bed at midnight, staring at the ceiling, replaying a text you sent 4 hours ago. You check the wording again. You imagine 3 different tones they might have read it in. You start defending yourself in a conversation that isn't even happening. And the worst part? You already know thinking about it again won't change anything. But your brain keeps acting like one more replay might finally give you control over how they felt when they read it. That's not you being dramatic. That's overthinking. And overthinking is what happens when your brain mistakes uncertainty for responsibility. You don't know what they thought, so your mind tries to fill the gap. You don't know if you sounded weird, so your mind replays every word. You don't know what happens next, so your mind builds 10 futures and asks you to suffer through all of them early. Stay with me, because near the end, I'll give you one question. I call it the control test that can cut through a spiral like this in under 10 seconds. 2,000 years ago, a man named Epictetus built almost his entire philosophy around the mistake hiding underneath that spiral. He was born enslaved in the Roman Empire, which meant most of the facts of his life were never his to choose. Not his status, not his freedom, not the people who held power over him. So he became obsessed with one brutal distinction. Some things are up to you, and some things are not. Almost too simple. But most of your anxiety comes from living as if the second category secretly belongs to the first. Up to you, whether you apologize clearly. Not up to you, whether they forgive you. Up to you, whether you prepare for the meeting. Not up to you, whether they already decided they don't like you. Up to you, whether you send the honest message. Not up to you, what tone they hear it in their own head. Said out loud, this sounds obvious, but you don't suffer because you don't know the difference. You suffer because part of you refuses to accept it. Here's the part that stings. Overthinking feels responsible. It feels like you're preparing, protecting yourself, doing something useful. But most of the time, it's just your brain trying to rehearse control over something that was never in your hands. Running the text through your head a 9th time doesn't change how they read it. Replaying the meeting doesn't change what your boss thought. Imagining rejection doesn't make rejection hurt less. It just makes you live through pain that may never arrive. Your mind calls it problem solving, but there's no problem in front of you, only uncertainty. And uncertainty is not an emergency. A century later, Marcus Aurelius picked up this same idea, but he wasn't using it for a calm morning routine. He was using it while carrying an empire on his back, through a plague and 2 wars, trying not to collapse under the pressure. He wrote something to himself that survived 2,000 years. If something outside you is disturbing you, the pain isn't coming from the thing itself. It's coming from your judgment about the thing. That doesn't mean nothing hurts. It means your mind often adds a second wound on top of the first one. The first wound is what happened. The second wound is the story you keep replaying about what it means. Most overthinking lives in that second wound. So here's the control test. Ask yourself, is this up to me? Not, will this work out? Not, what if they're mad? Just, is this up to me? If the answer is yes, act. Send the message. Make the apology. Prepare for the interview. If the answer is no, release it. Not because you don't care, but because caring harder doesn't buy you 1 ounce of control over someone else's inbox, someone else's opinion, or tomorrow. This was never about becoming cold. That's where people misread stoicism. Epictetus wasn't saying stop caring. Marcus wasn't saying feel nothing. The point isn't to go numb. It's to stop handing your whole nervous system to things you can't command. You can care deeply without trying to control everything. Peace doesn't come from finally knowing how everything will turn out. It comes from admitting you were never supposed to know. Do your part. Say the honest thing. Make the effort. Then let the rest leave your hands. That's not weakness. That's the oldest fix for a mind that keeps trying to carry the whole world. Before you scroll, name one thing your brain keeps trying to control that was never actually yours to control. No names, no details, just the thing. Sometimes naming the spiral is where it starts to loosen.